All right. Hello. Welcome. I am recording. Welcome to the fat loss webinar, if you will. 8 things you need to know on why things are different in your 30s. I've got my pen and paper, some notes here. Got a presentation. You probably most likely will be sent this because you watched or you've been on my calorie calculator quiz that I built. And if you're new here, I'll leave the link in the bio so you can check it out. Basically, enter your data, your numbers, your stats, and you'll get a calorie calculation bumped out. You can choose meals, protein ratio, fiber, all the important things on how to set you up for a good deficit and a diet plan. I've done a few different webinars and talks. One particular was about the nutrition periodization timeline, so how to plan out your fat loss year, essentially. How long should deficit be if you need a mini cut and all these things. Again, I'll leave that in the bio so you can watch that one as well. I think it's very important to watch them both together. Understanding macros and calories is important, and understanding how long to diet and the approach is also very, very important. If you're new here, my name is Lucas, and I've been an online coach and PT for the last 10 years, working with lots of people. And let's dive right into this. Enough yapping in the beginning. This will take a while, as these webinar seminars, they take a while. So, get comfortable, get a cup of coffee, get a cup of tea, make the time for this, make some notes. I find the best way I learn is if I make notes and I apply it right away. So hopefully there's one or two things that you can just start applying straight away with this. So who's this for? This is for someone who's working a lot, who's sedentary, who's eating well, relatively well, but doesn't really get anywhere with their weight. Maybe you're yo-yo dieting, you lose a couple of kilos or a couple of pounds, and it kind of comes back up. You generally have an all or nothing mentality. You've tried things, but nothing really sticks. Maybe you've tried paleo, fasting, diet, juice cleanse, whatever it might be. You may have tried those things and they've never really stuck to you, and you just can't figure out why. So you're left questioning, are you broken? Calories matter, they don't matter. Should I eat carbs? Should I not eat carbs? Can I eat after 6? All these kind of questions. So if you tick one of those two boxes, then this is for you. Right, so basically, you'll get something like this. This is the results you'll get on the calorie calculator. Now, I might update this in the future, so at the time of the recording, this is the most accurate version of the macronutrient ratio. Look at your calories, your meal frequency, and your macros. Very, very important things to understand, and I'm going to give you a very quick breakdown on how to read them, because it might be overwhelming, you might be new to this, you might be confused, you're not sure about how this works. It's also very, very important to understand that AI calorie tracking apps can do a very, very good job of giving you calories, but the strategy, how to do it, how to apply it in real life is what separates AI versus a good coach, right? So you'll enter your data, you'll get some questions on what kind of goal you want to be, your rough body fat estimates, things like this, and then it will give you, okay, what's your BMR, what's your total daily expenditure based on the exercise and how often you exercise, and what's your target based on your goal, right? So this is, let's say, just kind of me, but not really. I'm taller than that, I'm a bit older than that, and I'm actually lighter than that. But I'm like, my deficit dieting calories are 2,200 right now, right? And then you split it up into meals. Meal frequency, meal timing is very important in the sense of, no, you're not going to lose muscle mass, but in the sense of retaining rituals and routines. I work with a lot of, I guess you want to say, like ADHD, dopamine, autistic people. I guess maybe I have some of those traits myself. I seem to attract them. And we respond to systems, we respond to routine, we respond to rituals, because if we don't have them, everything feels like it's gone to shit and it's gone chaotic, right? I know I'm like that, and probably some of you watching this are like that as well. So if you are, reach out for coaching and let's work together. I get on really well with this kind of people. You want to eat the same meals that you really enjoy. You'll eat them for like 3 months or 6 months at a time, and one day you're just like, I'm sick of it, and you'll just stick to the next 6 months. You have this compulsive, obsessive obsession over a single meal. I am the same. I am in my cottage cheese, oatmeal, banana pancakes with jam for the last 6 months. 10 out of 10 hits the dopamine from my brain. So then I'll keep the meal one, my breakfast, the same. The way this works and what I'm trying to get at is basically, in order for the macros and nutrition to work and this become a lifestyle, not a diet, which again I talked about previous seminar, webinar, this cannot be a diet. You cannot eat foods for the sake of dieting and then switch back to normally eating, because the way you normally eat is what got you to where you are. It's how you got fat. This has to be a lifestyle change, so you have to find new meals that you like to replace that and stick to it. Let's say you do 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, that's 21 meals. Let's say 19 of those meals are identical, because you go to work. You don't want to stress about what to eat, what's for dinner. I hate that question. Hey, what's for dinner? 2 meals, because you want to go out, are off the books, whatever it might be, because you have a date night or Friday night, and Saturday you have a night with the boys, with the girls. There we go. That's your eat what you want. It's very unlikely you'll consume 7,000 calories or 3,500 calories above your maintenance in order for you to put on a lot of weight. More than likely, you'll just gain a bit of water weight and retention, and that's it, right? So it's not that complicated. People overcomplicate this whole dieting thing way too much. Right. The core problems. As usual, this is very raw. This is very homemade. I'm not using any AI, so you might be some spelling errors. English is not my first language. Right. What I believe are the core problems, because yeah, I've coached people for years, and this is what I've seen, right? A lot of people follow the advice that was never designed for them. So, you'll watch Instagram, you'll watch TikTok, and you'll follow, and you'll save a bunch of videos, and you'll be like, okay, this is good. And it works. It does work. It's just not made for you. Like, we're all different. When you just need to find a solution that works for you. And then this, I covered who this is for in the beginning. That kind of people, this is the problems I feel like you guys have, and we have, So you're always trying to diet, you're trying to cut carbs, and you're always going in circles. Let me start here. So you're always trying to diet because you think you need a diet, right? Because you think you'll diet, you'll magically lose weight, and you'll eat the way you were eating, and you'll be sorted. And again, it's the way you're eating right now is what got you fat. So if you just diet and cut things out, and you go back to eating the way you were, guess what? You're going in circles, doing the same thing. Carbs, very old school, I feel like, but it's still a case. People are afraid of carbs. People are afraid of bread. I make a lot of potato videos because I love carbs. I think potatoes are amazing because, one, they're the most satiating food. There's an actual scientific graph about the most satiating foods. Potatoes come number one. You can boil them, mash them, cook them, air fry them. You don't need a lot of oil. You can have a lot of seasoning on them. It's not calorie heavy, and they are amazing, especially when you are in a calorie deficit. See what I mean? It's a calorie deficit, not a diet, is what I want you to understand. If you need and want to have a coffee date with a cinnamon bun on Saturday that is 600 calories, I don't care, to make you happy and to keep this lifestyle sustainable, eat it. Fucking eat it. Like, excuse my French, excuse my language, but like, keep in your diet, because if that's your happiness, good. But the other time, the majority of the time, stick to the plan, not your feeling. That's the most important thing. Consistency. My favorite word. It's like relationships and situationships. In 2026, commitment, right? Commitment and consistency going hand in hand. I feel like it was over. So, consistency, the problem, it is. Most people aren't consistent enough. They think the diets don't work because they've tried it for 3 weeks, they go into it too deep of a deficit, and it's hard, and it sucks, and then you give up and you restart. Or come Monday, you're on track. Tuesday, you're good. You're holding it together until the weekend. Weekend comes in. Friday, you're like, shit, I've had a long day. I'm stressed. I'm mentally drained. You put on Netflix. You go to the cinema. And you're just like, shit. You binge. You eat a lot. And Monday comes in. You go into a guilt. You go into a diet. And you lock in. And you're stuck in the same circle, right? And this is the biggest thing. Again, I talked about it. About our little ADHD, autistic, dopamine brains. There's no anchor, there's no habits, there's no non-negotiables. You don't have a good routine, you don't have enough structure, so then you're trying to wing it as you go. I have a dog, right, Goose. A lot of you probably seen it on social media, all these things, and that's a non-negotiable. I have to get up and walk him. I've recently switched my routine after half a year of being a 5 a.m. person. It's summer at the time of this recording. I am becoming a morning training person. Works phenomenal for me. Turning that routine upside down after 6 months, I'm like a brand new person. I've got pen and paper to-do lists instead of AI. I've got my training around 10:30, 11 a.m. every single day. Then I'm fasting, and then I have my breakfast. That is an anchor habit. I drown out the food noise, because I know at 12 o'clock I'm going to have food. I'm like, okay, cool. I've got no food noise. I'm just going to keep full with coffee and water, and I'm set. If I approach this with this, if I approach it with the all or nothing mentality, and I had one bad meal, I threw in the towel, which is what I did a lot in my 20s, actually. I'd be in circles again, and that's what ruins it, right? In order for you to get the most out of this seminar, webinar, this guide, take the lessons and stick to them consistently for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks. See what happens. The time will pass either way. So either A, you stick to your old bad habits, or B, you try to approach and maybe it worked. Half of it worked. Even if 10% stuck, that's still better. That's still progress. Right. Okay. Now, the title was 30s. So let's talk about the 30s. What happens after your 30s? I'm in my 30s, right? Why the body changes after 30 and what happens. The basics are your lean muscle mass goes down. We know that we get into atrophy. We start to decay. We literally start to decay and fall apart because you sit in your ass all day. You've gone from a 20s active lifestyle of dating, partying, maybe being social, hiking, whatever, to suddenly have a corporate job on your butt all day. Your metabolism goes down. You cannot eat as many calories as you want to. And if you eat the same in your 30s as you did in your 20s, you're going to gain weight. That little maintenance deficit gap you had suddenly becomes a surplus, and suddenly you're gaining weight. Your stress is through the roof. There are far more responsibilities and stress in your 30s than probably in your 20s, because maybe you have a household to keep in charge of, or kids, or you're trying to get your shit together, right? You don't know where you might be in life and you're stressed all the time. And that increases cortisol. Cortisol is a big trendy word, I guess, but it also does affect us a lot, especially sleep. And we'll talk about that, which is next, recovery. If your sleep goes down, your ghrelin and leptin, your ghrelin goes up and your leptin goes down, affects your cortisol. I think there's some studies that recently came out that talk about like lack of sleep and not recovering enough makes fat loss up to 50% harder. 50%. That's a large number. That's a large chunk. So get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep, prioritize it. Bedtime routine to get up earlier. If you stay up past your bedtime, you still get up at the same time, it means you're sacrificing and you're stealing your own recovery. You're sabotaging yourself. Treat it that way. Make a deal with yourself. I've been doing that this week. I've been actually sabotaging myself. I could tell. It's affecting me, and I'm tired, I'm fatigued, and I'm catching up on caffeine, and my water weight's all over the place. But because it's summer and the sun's up, and I want to stay up and play with the kids, with the dog. But yeah, so I have to get better. I have to focus on rebuilding routine, and one thing at a time, right? NEAT is a very important one. NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That is a fancy word for saying get your ass moving and get 10,000 steps a day. I think it's like sex of half an hour of sex burns like 150 calories. Walking 10,000 steps burns like 300 to 400 calories. Like these are things that are considered NEAT. Cleaning the house, hoovering 20 minutes, whatever, or 10 minutes, and like mopping the floor, again, like an extra 100 calories. Like those things are NEAT. That's what we consider NEAT, non-exercise activity, right? In your 30s, you might be doing a lot less. You might have the luxury of having a house cleaner. You might have the luxury of driving to work and you're driving to the grocery store because you don't want to walk because you're lazy. That's losing calories. That's losing exercise. That could be enough to take your maintenance to a surplus. That's 50 to 100 calories. So it's not about like having more motivation or doing more or doing less. It's just about some structure. That's all we do. That's all I teach. Just structure, putting your shit together, right? All right. The three big mistakes, nutrition, no system, and restarting, right? Restarting, you see, is a theme. The loops and going in circles, it's a theme here. Nutrition is eating too little during the day and then overeating at night is a very big one. So fasting is a very good tool for managing your hunger and food noise. However, people take it to extremes. They'll starve themselves all day. They'll binge at night and ruin their progress. The better approach to that would be to either A, have smaller meals or have the regular meals at the same times. So your brain and your body knows what to expect at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m. It's routine, it's clockwork. Because again, we work on systems, we work on rituals, we work on habits. no systems, because you're always relying on willpower. So you're always like, I'll do it today. I'll do it today. I'll fix it tomorrow. And you're just like always burning out. You know, decision fatigue is a very big one. A great book by Atomic Habits, James Clear, talks about decision fatigue. It's a great book. I recommend everyone reads it. Um, Meal prep. Prep your food ahead. Prep your breakfast. Prep your lunch, whatever it might be. One meal or all meals, whatever, if you can. If it's lunch at work in the canteen, have the same breakfast and the same dinner, because those two variables you can control. Lunch is whatever you get served, right? Prep the food though. Don't wing it. Don't hope and don't assume that you'll just grab the same food every day because that's what you do. Because I guarantee you, when you start coaching, or if you start coaching me or whatever, when I get people to like do a log in the first couple weeks and say, hey, let's do an assessment of your life, just write stuff down, give me an idea. People have to think, and suddenly like, wow, I ate more than I think. I thought I eat the same food, but no, I suddenly stack. I'm an emotional eater. I've got more food noise than I realized. Like all these patterns, all these trends come up because I make you stop and think. We all build habits without realizing them subconsciously, and we do them until someone calls us out. Nutrition is a very, very, very big place where people do a lot of that. And restarting, again, we use in the weekends, like, oh, it's only Sunday, I'm gonna bake. Great, bake. Don't have the whole thing. Don't eat up the spoon. If you do, have a smaller dinner. Like, balance things out. Balance things out. I think this is the most important part out of all this, is that no matter how good your workouts are, remember, you cannot out-train a bad diet. You cannot out-exercise a pizza diet. You cannot out-exercise a processed diet, right? 70% of it is food, 10% of it is gym, and I think 20%, actually, I think I need to change that. I think 20% is controlling emotional eating. You would not believe how much emotional eating controls your life. I probably don't realize that. And I've worked with a lot of people. I've been through divorces. I've been people who've been redundant. I've been people who start new careers, move countries, everything. I'm gonna put that number like 60% right now. I'm gonna switch around. 70% of it is probably emotional eating. You're stressed, you're eating. You're tired, you're eating. You didn't get enough sleep, your cortisol's up, you're eating. That's emotional eating. That will screw you up massively. You need to find a way to auto-regulate or self-regulate your system and find another way to fill that habit out. A lot of time you're not hungry. It's your brain emotionally coping, right? We all have borderline eating disorder almost, right? I'm not an eating disorder specialist. I'm not a nutrition dietitian specialist, but I do work with nutrition. I have a qualification in nutrition regarding like sports and science and exercise and hypertrophy and etc. So I'm not going to dive into nutrition like eating disorders too much, but just be aware that emotional eating and food noise are massive, massive parts and massive triggers that affect you. Right. Cortisol, what a fancy word. Cortisol basically is a main stress hormone. It's from stress, sleep, skip meals, overtraining. Strength training is a form of self-harm because it raises cortisol. It's actually funny because it raises it, but it's like we need a certain amount of cortisol in our body to actually maintain it. However, chronically elevated cortisol signals make you store body fat more. They hang on to your body, and your body is incredibly smart at like hanging on to things and preserving things. It'll start burning tissue before it burns fat because of survival and the way we've evolved, right? However, there are also other things where cortisol can make things like a good week of nutrition cause you to fluctuate in weight. Women with menstrual cycle will fluctuate between 0.5 to 3 kilos or less or more, right? It's water weight. Unless you've consumed 3,500 calories in a day, it's very unlikely you've gained a pound or half a kilo of fat. It's more likely to be water weight. That's why we look at general average trends, not a single scale measurement or a daily intake. Put that in again. Very important about controlling and emotional eating. Okay, so what do we prioritize and how do we fix this? Now, of course, we know our fancy word protein, carbs and fats, and those are your three main macronutrients, right? There's macronutrients, there's micronutrients, and vitamins and minerals. I'm not gonna dive in too much into it. I think I talked about it in the periodizing nutrition for the yearly timeline video webinar as well. But at its basic, on its basic surface level, is you want 35 to 40 grams per meal. You want carbs around your training. So A lot of people, I'm going to dive into carbs more than protein because I think protein is super easy to get in, and I think more people don't struggle with protein as much as they think they do, and you're trying to overconsume more protein than you think because protein is on everything these days. Protein coffee, protein toothpaste next, right? Carbs give your brain function, they feed your dopamine and emotional eating. I think that's the biggest main things it's tied into. Time your carbs around your training to fuel your training, and your life will be much, much better. What I mean by that is if you train in the afternoon, have some carbs before that, a banana, some rice cakes, and have carbs after it. You'll feel fuller, you'll perform better, and you will not crash. Fats are very important for digestion or hormone health. You should not be cutting fats out, but they should be the lowest possible number you can get away with when you are in a deficit to maintain good hormone health, not affect your menstrual cycle for women. Because 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, carbs and protein, 1 gram is 4 calories, so double, right? So 2-to-1 ratio, which means fats are incredibly easy to overeat and consume. We also love fats. I love cheese, I love nuts. So it's very easy to destroy your macros. So be careful with this one, is what I'm saying. Okay, structure. How do we structure this? How do we structure your food? How do we create structure instead of willpower, right? You don't need more motivation. I can send you 25 TikToks. I will motivate the shit out of you. It's very unlikely you'll do it. So let's give you some structure. So the first thing is, like I mentioned, set aside a day for a week to meal prep. Create 2 to 3 meals that are repeatable, that are repetitive, that are easy to make. Like I said, I've got cottage cheese, oatmeal, pancakes with a banana. So I blend oatmeal with some water, almond milk because it's 10 calories per 100 ml, banana, 1 egg. It's like 350 calories. I'll have a whole bag, like a pot of cottage cheese. And I can repeat that. It's just like I have the ingredients in my house. I don't think I just go on autopilot and I do it, and it's repetitive, and I can make it fresh. So it's easy. Food timing. Food timing. I talked about it earlier when fasting and stuff like that. But like eating the same meals a day at the same time, those similar times. I understand it can be busy, it can be hard, meetings, work, yada yada. Gives your body control and less chance to create food noise, to make you starve, to go hungry and fall off track. Eat like, there's a whole thing now on social media about eat like a dog, but eat like a dog. Set time, set meal. It's not about bodybuilding. It's not about feeding your muscle, same hours. It's not about that. It's about structure. It's about structure, right? And emotional eating. Very, very important. A lot of the times it comes down to dopamine. It's not worth it. You have to call yourself out. You have to control yourself. Don't keep stuff in the house you cannot control yourself. I live alone. I have the luxury of not buying junk food because I know if I do, I'll eat it. It's that simple. Out of sight, out of mind. I have self-control. I could work on that, or I just choose not to have it in the house, and it's easier. However, if you do have to have junk food in the house or nice things like candy or whatever because you like to and you have self-control, you have kids or whatever reasons, might be create a bit of resistance between you and that cookie jar. So if you're, say, a mother, busy parent, you've had a stressful day, you come back, the kids are yelling your head off, and the only thing you can think about is going for the cookie jar. Now, if you grab the cookie jar, you'll grab that, you'll get dopamine, you'll feel better relief, right? However, if you take the cookie jar and you put it on the top shelf, that you have to get a chair to go get that, which again, this is me referencing Atomic Habits, the book from James Clear. You create resistance between you and the cookie jar. That means you have to actively go get a chair, walk over, set yourself up, reach for the cookie jar, and grab it. You've created friction, resistance. You are less likely to go through that friction and resistance if to get the cookies if you have that there. Of course, you could say, "Oh, I'll put a chair up. I don't care. I'm that desperate." You can. That's self-control. But like most of us, we just need a little bit of resistance between us and the cookie jar, and some time to cool off. And guess what? You're not that hungry. You're not gonna die. It's good. So just control that. Okay, the 3 pillars for desk jobs. So again, I talked about it, corporate life, 30s, because we're talking about the 30s. I'm going to assume a lot of you are in the corporate world. A lot of you watching this maybe have a desk job, kind of maybe home office, whatever it might be. So let's talk a little bit more about that and the 3 pillars and fuel. fueling yourself, so you're not restricting yourself. And the best way to fuel yourself that I found is, again, I've talked about it in the dieting phase for the 12 months of the year webinar, is have a very moderate deficit, prioritize protein, but don't cut anything out. Like I talked just now about resistance between you and that thing and the cookie. I'll still have a cookie. I'll still have a pastry. I will still have the foods that make me happy, because my happiness is more important than being lean or a calorie deficit, because that's what makes life worth living for. So don't cut things out, but prioritize whole foods 90% of the time, and you'll be in the right place. Structure your week. So have the framework, right, where you're creating those days, and on the days you're stressed, you cannot think, you are the all or nothing mentality where you feel like throwing in the towel. Guess what? If you had meal prepped on a day before, you could just go to the fridge, grab what's there, and eat it. Now, sometimes, don't get me wrong, it will suck. Your meal prep's like, ugh, I'm bored of the same shit over again, or it's cold, I gotta reheat it, or whatever. But do you want to follow the plan, or do you want to follow emotion? Because following your emotion is gotten you fat or overweight or wherever you might be now. Following the plan is what gets you results. So, potato, potato, you know what I mean? And managing your recovery, right? Again, like I talked about it, sleep is the most important thing. Overtraining, we're not going to dive into that too much, but it's more like lacking sleep, being super stressed will make you starve more, will make you hungry, you'll make poor choices when you go to the grocery store hungry. Guess what? You make bad choices, right? So work on as much as you can to improve your recovery. So a quick example of what progress can look like, let's say if you start coaching with me, and what it would look like if we start improving with nutrition and working on this. So the first couple weeks, we're looking at increasing your energy and reducing cravings. That's the most important thing. So if you introduce structure in the first 8 weeks, right, in your life, with me, by yourself, coaching, whatever it might be, this is what you can expect. On the mid weeks, the later weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, your clothes should feel differently because you're down a couple pounds, because you're eating consistently. Your body knows what's coming, you know what time it's coming, and you know what to expect. And this is regarding if you kept a moderate to low deficit. You don't need to do aggressive deficits. By week 8 plus, hopefully you've created new routines, new habits, new rituals that are just like, okay, this is me, this is how it feels, this is a lifestyle, and no longer just a diet. That's it, right? Okay, I've covered this again in another seminar, but it's important to understand that setting yourself up with your calories, with your macros that you go in the beginning, it's very important to understand you have to set yourself up with what your reality is right now. So if we look at recovery assessment, what are your energy readiness? What are your energy levels right now, and how ready are you for what phase of life? And what I mean by that is, are you in a busy workplace between jobs, stressed? Maybe a deficit is not the best thing. Schedule assessment. Are you the kind of person that is traveling a lot, that has a lot of hotel layovers, that has a rough time sticking to routine that way? Again, a deficit is not going to work for you right away. You need to build better routine system first. And a goal deadline. What's realistic for you? Do you have a wedding coming up? Do you have a work deadline coming up? That's a big thing that I deal with people. They get stressed out and they have PhDs or whatever, and then they're like, okay, I can't focus on training. Then you're setting the expectation too high. Then we have to be realistic, and it's okay. It's okay if you only work out twice a week to maintain. Like, that's routine, that's habits that will still get you good results. Because knowing what phase of life you are in right now is crucial for setting you up for success. Like, that's what gets results. Because if you come in, you're in the middle of a divorce, you've got deadlines, you've got a team of 8 people, you're super stressed, and you're about to go, I don't know, bankrupt or something. This is like extreme case. A deficit's gonna make you cranky, horrible, and gonna hate your life even more. You know what I mean? How about we use your diet, nutrition, and your training as an escape and a good source of happiness, and not a source of pain, is what I mean. So that's generally a good coach's or my job, the way I approach coaching with people. So these are examples of my clients and some of the results they've gotten. And all of these people got results by one, sticking to the plan, not emotion. So this is just an insight of my app and how it works within a meal plan, training plan. You get video feedbacks. I'll leave a link to my coaching so you can just apply in the link in the bio. But all of them got these results, and I'm still actually, Libby is like just getting started. I'm really excited about this one. By training 3 times a week. That's it. So it's not a lot. And then you stuck to the plan, not the emotion. So I feel like I want to say thanks for watching. Any questions, but you're not here. So send me your questions in the DMs on Instagram, comment underneath this video, or email me. I hope you found this valuable. You learned something. You can apply it right away. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you.